You figure this war is just going to fit in with your ideas?
While everybody else is taking life, I'm gonna be saving it. And that's gonna be my way to serve.
What an unusual character, and a man of tremendous conviction. He was persecuted by his own people in the army and stuff. They thought he was a coward, or they thought he was a liability. And so you have a man who's actually crawling into the... It's an ordinary man doing extraordinary things in incredibly difficult circumstances, and he crawls into an experience that turns most men, reduces them to the level of animals, and he exercises and maintains his equilibrium and his convictions and his faith in the midst of this without a weapon. And it's just, greater love hath no man than he laid down his life for his brothers, and this guy did it repeatedly and very consciously. He not only gave up his stretcher to the guy, first he fixed him up, he patched him up, and then he put him on the stretcher. Crazy stuff. He was a very humble guy. He just wanted to go home, plant vegetables and work in his tool shed and pray, and he didn't want anyone telling his story. And other people had approached him, Hal Wallace, and they even sent Audie Murphy to go and twist his arm back in the 40s or 50s, and he wouldn't budge. And he was finally, I think, convinced by the guy who did the documentary that his experience and the telling of his story could be inspirational to other people, so that he gave his life rights to his Seventh-day Adventist church.
When you see the film, you'll see that the battle actually took place on a field that was in reality about half the size of a football field, maybe a little bit bigger than that. There's explosions around these guys. There's weaponry. There's all sorts of stuff, and the idea was to be as true to life as we could be. So we started off with all period correct ammunition and rifle sounds and gun sounds. And in reality, they don't always sound dramatically as cool as you want them to be. Vince Vaughn's gun in reality sounds more like a pea shooter than it does a machine gun. So obviously we had to enhance all of those weapons. In terms of the explosions, there's about 300 explosions in the movie, so the idea was to try to make them all sound a little bit different, which was a tall order. And then also there were the sounds of the incoming bullets that are whizzing by all over the place during this movie. There's challenges because when we're on the American side, then we're on the Japanese side, we're on the American side, and we're using all 56 speakers in the room to tell that story at the same time. There's a couple of scenes in the movie where Andrew Garfield and Luke Bracey just hunkered down in a foxhole, and they are surprised by a Japanese soldier. The idea was to shock the audience, and we couldn't quite find the right sound in music or sound effects to do that. So, luckily we have a very gifted actor who is also our director who said, "Hey guys, can I give it a try?" And we said, "Okay." So we gave him a microphone, and we ran him the scene, and just as the Japanese guy pops his head up, Mel goes, into the microphone. Well, we took that sound and we put it in all 56 speakers at one time. We pumped it up, and I guarantee it scared the shit out of us the first time we played it.
All I did was sneeze.
See, I don't think this is a question of religion, fellas. I think this is cowardice. Plain and simple.
People say, isn't it too violent? But it's like taking the characters out of a Norman Rockwell painting and dropping him into a Hieronymus Bosch, and it kind of... That's the kind of death of innocence, and that any war does. I mean, it just wreaks havoc, and it also that level of ferocity, sort of Desmond's ideal juxtaposed against that, makes his sacrifice and his courage like really stand out.